Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Forever Young. I'm your host, David Linton, and this is a show, as we always say, celebrates life for those of us who are past 50. You know, as we always say that life begins at 40, so everything prior to that is a dress rehearsal. And when you get to 50 and beyond, you really know how to live because you've experienced some things, you've gone through some things. But the reality is you're forever young, because this is the program that really believes that age ain't nothing but a number. Grammatically incorrect, but you understand what we're saying. I've always pleasure to be here because, again, I have the pleasure of sharing this platform with two lovely ladies. They're my co-hosts. And the first one is, she tells us who she is. She came up with the adjective in the very first show. So we know that it is definitely the beautiful Jean Hendricks. Good afternoon, Jean.
Good afternoon, David. And as always, I'm delighted to join you on this show. We share so much information and so much laughter together. So I'm glad to be with you again today. Back to you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And of course, the lady who does, I think she really has more than two hands because she does so much to keep us going, keep the show going. She does so many things. For our parent company, which is the House of Hope Atlanta, which is the producers and present these on Hope TV. And that's none other than Dr. Sharon Mitchell. Hello, Sharon. How are you today?
I'm doing great, David, and so glad to join you again this week and looking forward to our special guest this week. Thanks again for having me.
Always a pleasure. It is. I'm still trying to figure out why I'm hosting this show. But anyway, I say that because, you know, when people say senior and that kind of stuff, we never really think of ourselves in those terms. And because we always say that age ain't nothing but a number, we say that for a reason, because it's always a state of mind. And today we have two people here who are forever young. They are, you know, they're members of the House of Hope Atlanta. He's a deacon, a chairman of our deacon board, loves to run athletic. She is a minister on our staff, and we're going to get right to introducing them first. That's Deacon Alphonse and Minister Bernice Davis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, each week before we get started, Jean always has a poem or a saying or something that kind of sets the tone for the program. So I know she won't disappoint us this week. Jean, what do you have for us?
Yes, David, I have something very special, and it's titled Dreamers and Doers. You dreamers and doers, you lifters and lover, you caring and kind, come on now. Between the soul and the outside world, scooters and bikes, there's a blessing for you. Love is a language spoken here. Nothing says I love you like taking a long end or alone to get yourself or reach your inner soul. Back to you, David.
All right. And that really sets the stage for this company. Dr. Bernice, affectionately known as Buddy, understand that you as a child had respiratory problems and had difficulty, but you always enjoyed climbing and running and doing whatever you can. But you're known for your participation in Atlanta's famous Peachtree Road race here in Atlanta, and you've been doing that since 1979. And her husband, he is also a participant in the running, and the subtitle for this show is Keep Moving. It's applicable. And Al developed a fluid running technique that caused him to surprise many of the other males in his group. So I know today that we're going to learn a lot about both of these people and the technique of running and exercising. How did you guys get into this? Who did you drag him, or did he drag you? Guilty. Okay.
Yes. Actually, back in 1979, I watched this movie with Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward in it, and they had done the Boston. Well, she was trying to do the Boston Marathon. Neither one of them were runners, and it almost killed her. But she came in that night, long after everybody else had gone home, and they actually put up the tape for her so that she could, go ahead and finish the race and everything. But anyway, by the time I, got to the end of that movie, I turned to my husband. I said, I'm going to run the Peachtree Road Race, which was only 6.2 miles, not, the 26 plus for a marathon. And so I had never run a race officially before, and I decided I was going to do it. Well, I started running and training around through the neighborhood, by myself, just running and training around through the neighborhood. And by the time the road race was to come up, I found out I was 3 months pregnant with our third.
So you did slow down a little bit.
With our third daughter, but I prayed and I said, Lord, just give me the race. And so that was when I started really studying and finding out that even if you are a mother to be, whatever you have been doing before you became pregnant, you could keep doing. So I took a chance and wouldn't tell anybody anything because I did not want, all of my lovely, loving Christian mothers to tell me not to do it. And but I did write it on the little tag that they, said write all your vital information on. And I ran through that race and did it well. And my husband, he was looking for me at the end, all through the park. He went to the medical area and everything. He thought I was laid out somewhere. But lo and behold, I came running to him holding my T-shirt up, and I had made it up. Yeah. And actually, I ran through some neighborhood races after that. And then I started raising my family more and more and more, and I stopped running for 25 years. And then I started back and invited my 25-year-old daughter that I was carrying in the first race to run with me. And she didn't run until last year with me, and she has had her first child. So this has been a really great odyssey. And but then when I started back running, before she even started to run, my husband looked at me after my 6th time running, and he said, I'm going to run it next time. And I said, wow, he's finally going to get up off of that sofa. And I was so happy because I wanted a husband that was going to be healthy with me for all these years past. And, blessedly, we have been married coming up on the end of this year, 49 years. And he's running with me a number of times. He actually has gotten faster than I, of course, which I wanted to happen. And I got tired of looking at the bottom of her shoes from the back. Just a joke. The truth.
Oh, wow.
Good.
We're both in it to win it for ourselves, not to compete with anybody. But it turns out when we do run in our age groups, basically we're ahead of all of the people that are in that age group that we happen to be in when we look at the results. So so we're really happy to be able. God is good.
Yes, he is.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, he is.
That's wonderful.
So I have a question, David. Minister Bernice, how do you actually prepare then? What do you do to prepare?
Well, over the years, we, got some things in our big playroom. We have a treadmill, weight bench, cardio things. And so we actually, you have to stay in fit form all year long. You can't just go run a race in the summer just because it came up. So we stay in fit form all year long. We take care of what our exercise and running habits and all of that lifting has to be. We take care of that every week, all through the week. And we get plenty of rest, but we get plenty of exercise. We have run around Stone Mountain sometimes to get ready to do the pavement, since, treadmill is not pavement, trust me. And it makes a difference on how your feet feel, how your knees feel, and all your other joints that take you running. So you have to prepare outside the house sometimes as well as inside the house.
Oh, very good. David, I have a question I'd like to ask also. Do you compete as a couple or do you compete individually? And how does that affect at home? Do you get home and say, I beat you?
Do you think I like living, okay?
Yeah.
No, we decided when we started running. In fact, when I got into the running, I was always very athletic coming up, but when I got back in, I tell you one of the things that made me want to run again. My wife took a picture of me holding my first grandson. I was standing on the porch, and she took this picture. And when they developed it, looked at the picture, I said, "What is that big thing around your middle?" I mean, I didn't realize I had become very fat. And that's when I said, well, I need to do something about this. And I found out that running really was a good weight loss thing. From the time I started running, I lost over 25 pounds. And
Wow.
And I've been able to maintain that weight the whole time. So, as we get back to the main question, no, we compete against ourselves. Individually, because I know sometimes when we started, she could go faster. And when I started, I couldn't keep up with her basically. But I was trying to improve every year to get better.
Right.
So I always I judge by myself against the clock and not against anybody else.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
the thing too about okay, good. I was just saying that the thing about the male, he has larger lungs and larger muscles, and as long as they're in tone, then he should be able to run faster than the female that matches, his age and all of that. So, and it's a good thing. I wanted him to get to that point where he could run his race. As a matter of fact, every time we are waiting there at the line for the Peachtree to start for our group, I say to him, run your race. And so we kiss, and then, he goes on and I go on and I run my race.
Right.
See, that goes to show that the women have, because you see that you made, he started running and he thought it was his idea. And you, at the same time, you motivated him in a different kind of way. And that's really good, though. That's the beauty of it. Because when you go to any doctor, the first thing he'll talk about cardiovascular. And if you can't do that, they start with walking. And so the fact guys are doing this. And for anybody who's looking, at this program, and once again, you are looking at Forever Young, a production of Hope TV, if you're just tuning in. Our guest is Deacon Alphonse Davis and Dr. Bernice Bunny Davis, and they are very athletic. They do a lot of 10K runs, but we're talking about keeping it moving, and that's so important with seniors, because as you get older, there seems to be a tendency to, as Al alluded to, some people just sit on the couch and think that the only thing that gets exercise is that thumb for the remote, or some other things. And when you look up one day and you'll go like, who is that? What is that? So to get that mindset, so what we try to bring each week to this show, it's little tips that will keep people active, because when you're active, there's also, I'm sure you met, it's enlarged your social circle in terms of just meeting different people and sharing techniques, correct?
Yeah.
Now, Bunny, in your bio, it says you did something something in your backyard in terms of creating your own little track or something. Tell the audience about that.
Okay. Like I said, we do a lot of training on the treadmill. And one day I was just too super bored with just running on the treadmill. You know, you can watch the little TV, but I mean, I'm not that great a TV watcher anyway. And I mean, you're just running. And if you run up to speed, which is over 6.2 miles, you want to do that so you'll make sure you can run the real race. But it was just so boring after a while. I said, I got to do something about this. And I love being outdoors too much. And we can't go all the way running, you know, through the neighborhood all the time, especially now. You're just much more careful.
Right, exactly.
And so I decided that my backyard was a good place to run the perimeter of. So I got together these square 12 by 12, you know, inch brick tiles. And I started inlaying them around the entire perimeter of the backyard where I do my gardening and yard work and stay from morning till night, sometimes working. And it was perfect. I was able to just get in, you know, go around and around, and you know, you have your little monitor on and you run and you count your miles and you run as slow or as fast, or you walk and jog or whatever you want to do. So I took time to lay that out stone by stone, if you will, brick by brick. And it was so much fun. I would be so dirty, but I loved every bit of it.
May I ask you another question? What do you do as far as your diet is concerned? Are you particular about what kinds of food you eat in order to stay focused as far as your weight is concerned? What's your diet like to stay trim and athletic?
That's good.
What do you do with eating?
That's a good question, because you do have to eat right. And I'm not saying that we eat boring, okay? It's just that I know, according to doctors' exams and all of that, when things are not going to work. Right. And one thing that stopped working well was blood pressure. I had a low register of normal blood pressure all of my life. And then several years back, it started reading high. And I was, you know, getting the high blood pressure. I didn't want to be on medication the rest of my life in that sense, where I was just struggling to keep my blood pressure. And so the doctor and I agreed that I would just, you know, take salt out of my cooking, and especially off the table. And we minimize salt in our diet. I'm not saying we cut it out completely, but we minimize that, because that definitely will run your blood pressure up. And lots of sugary stuff. And I found, like, after age 35, I just had to stop eating a lot of stuff at the level that I could eat it when I was younger. So I just, you know, and then calorie intake and those saturated fats. I just, you know, I didn't feel good whenever I felt myself gaining and changing in ways that didn't feel good. So I stopped and looked at it, and I always was careful with how I fed my family as they were growing up. So we just, you know, we just don't eat probably the way that people don't pay attention to themselves eating. We pay attention and try to eat very healthy, and we eat, you know, sometimes fun, sometimes we splurge, but then we make up for it knowing that we've got to get back and undo something.
Well, you know, there's two words that you used that was really poignant. And I think I want to draw to those words. One, you said your meals weren't boring. And you said levels. And then you took the salt off the table. The best way to resist temptation is to remove it. So again, so I think that those things I want the audience, I want to, you know, really hone on that, because, you know, you can eat right, you can eat anything you want. Moderation is the
Right.
key.
Mm-hmm.
And then also knowing when to pull back.
Right.
So everything's got
Yes.
to be, you got to go to the stream and don't eat anything and drink nothing but water, and but at the same time, it's about moderation. So I think that was a great takeaway for our audience, and I just wanted to put a pin there to make sure that we emphasize that. That's some really great information that you share with them. I think Sharon or Jean had something to say.
Yes. I had a question. So since we didn't have the Peachtree race this year, did you still prepare for it as if it was going to take place?
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, the morning of the 4th of July, I got up, throw my uniform, my running clothes,
Running clothes.
and I did my 6.2 miles on the treadmill. Time
Wow.
myself. We, they sent out notices that they was canceling the race, so you had the option because they moved it to Thanksgiving.
Right.
So you had the option of either getting your money back or So what we did is we basically stayed in it because we know Thanksgiving is we have other things we do on Thanksgiving, so we weren't sure that we were going to be able to run it on Thanksgiving. So we decided to stay in it by we can run our own race, a virtual race, and then send our results in to them, and they will send us our T-shirts and everything. So we'll still be officially running it this year.
Okay.
Right. We'll just run it
Wow.
early in the morning like we would normally do anyway. And by the time, all of the festivities with family, if possible, are going on, then we will have been done with that race.
Yeah, we really weren't
Wow.
sure how long this COVID-19 was going to last, even into, and we're seeing that it may be lasting into Thanksgiving. They may have to cancel it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We decided to do it that way. That way we would be worried about not having to run it at all. So.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, that's again, I always like to put these little pins there when I hear something to really focus on, because then that's dedication. That's
Yes.
dedication, that's the mindset. And of course, it's about overcoming obstacles. As we've all been able to adapt with this whole COVID-19. I mean, this show is the benefit of from COVID-19. But we found ways to stay connected, share information.
Yeah.
And so what you two have done is really created a way, even in this situation, to keep your activity going, to keep it fun, and now you're sharing it with the world. So we're really just excited that we've had this opportunity to share with you. Sharon, I know you had something to say. I could see it in your face.
I did. So since you talked about running and preparing, have you had any injuries as a result of preparing for the races in the past?
Oh, wow. About 6-7 years ago? I actually was running on the treadmill one morning early before he even got up, and I turned to look at something away from what I was doing, which never take your eyes off of your treadmill running. Don't do it, okay? Well, I did one time, and I actually slipped off. It carried me to the floor,
Wow.
and I actually fractured my fibula, my bone just above my ankle, and
Lord.
it was amazing. I had to call down. I had to use the phone downstairs and ring it to get his attention upstairs so he could come down. Honey, come help me. I think I broke my leg. And so anyway, praise be to God, though. This is the good part. Once you have worked with your health to keep yourself, in the fittest form that you are able, your body does something for you. When I went to the doctor and the sports doctor, and he took care of everything, put the cast on and all of that, he told me to come back in 3 weeks just to see how it was doing. And then I went back in 3 weeks. He said it's healed, and he took the cast off. In 3 weeks, I was walking again without crutches or anything.
Wow.
Fantastic.
And so that was God's grace.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
He has a thing with me. He always has said to me when I would be under hard tests, he said, if you will just try, I will do the rest. And he has proven it over and over in every way.
So have you inspired your friends? No, go ahead, Al. Go ahead.
I just said that I really never had a major injury running. Just basically sometimes you will pull a muscle, or you would. One time I was running and I fell, and I hit my shoulder. But I guess I know how to fall.
Yeah.
So I kind of rolled, but it kind of ripped my shoulder a little bit. But that was it. I didn't have to even have any medical attention for that. So no real major injuries from them myself.
So tell me, in terms of peer pressure, okay? So there and not you being pressured, but have you've had friends or whatever who've said, they're crazy, I'm not doing that, and then after a while you've seen you guys doing it, having fun and all like that, say, you know what? Bunny, how do you do that? Or Al, what, tell me more about it, that they've actually decided to join the party, so to speak.
Well, we actually haven't had that happen. We are really kind of quiet people. We don't boast, we don't brag, and stuff like that. We don't bring it up unless someone brings it up to us, and then they want to know something. Then we'll tell them what they ask.
Well, I actually did get a couple of the deacons to run the Peachtree Road race. Some of the younger deacons to run it. Because I really, some of them I looked at them, I say, I'm concerned about your health. These were young guys. And I was saying, you need to start now getting yourself together with your health. So, because you want to live a lot longer than so start now. I said, don't go out there trying to run it. Go ahead and walk it. Do something. Right. But do something to make yourselves active. Because I could see that they were starting to get overweight and blood pressure and all these things that when you get older really debilitates you, and you can't do anything about it. So start. That's why I encourage younger folks to start now while you still can, so you won't have all these maladies when you get older.
Well, I'm glad you did that. People outside the family, but I generally would talk with, my own children, and basically not push it though, because you know how people when they are grown, they're young, but when they're grown, they figure mama and dad have taught me everything, when I was a kid. I don't want them telling me anything now. So we hope that we are examples to our children as well as to other people that are in our circles, at church.
Wow.
We're coming to near the end of the show, but Gene, I know I know my co-host so well. I know when they're brimming and waiting to say something. So Gene, I know you have something for us. Go ahead and pose it to our guests, please.
I just had one other question I wanted to ask them, and this is kind of on in the back of my mind. For someone who is much, much, much younger than we are, maybe someone in their 70s or 80s, would you suggest that they start a walking program?
Oh, most definitely. And so we try to always encourage people, don't try to do what we do. Look at your own situation, because a lot of people, they can't get to this level like overnight. So I encourage anybody. I mean, they've proven medically that walking is just as healthy and good for you as running.
Actually, it's the best exercise there is. Just walking, and making sure it's a good routine, making sure it's done with the purpose in mind of improving your health. Walking is the best exercise. It's the safest, and it does do whatever you need doing inside.
And what I did, I think one of the motivators was to get yourself a routine. A few years ago, my daughter gave us some fitness trackers, so we can kind of keep up with steps that we take, and and the miles that we go. Even just walking around the house, we can track all that. And when you look back at the end of the day, you say, "Wow, I didn't know I did 20,000 steps. I walked 2 miles or 5 miles." but it gives you, and what I set mine to kind of be like to alarm me or remind me that every hour I need to get up and move.
Oh, wow.
At least walk 200 steps.
Wow.
So you don't just get planted on the sofa. It will buzz you and remind you to get up and move.
I got the computer.
Yeah.
Right. What type of shoes do you use?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I
was
was
just
going
saying
to ask
right
you
now,
about
my Fitbit. I was just saying right now, my Fitbit is broken because it probably got tired of telling me I was an overachiever.
She burned it up.
Oh, that's too funny.
Do you lift weights or anything like that to help you with your body? You know, what type of shoes do you use? I mean, that can be important too. You got to have the right type of shoes to walk with, right? I wouldn't go walking in my sandals, would I?
No. What?
No.
Well, if you go just serious about it, sometimes you go to these running stores. They will measure your feet. They'll tell you what kind of shoes you need. What you need, some ones that will give you more support than others. Like I know I need a lot of support for my feet, so my shoes are probably a little thicker sole than some of the others. But yeah, everybody's feet is different, so you need to know what kind of gait you have, so when you get shoes that they don't, because shoes can actually injure you if you don't have the right ones for your feet.
Oh, okay.
So we got to make sure that we get the right kind of shoes for our running techniques. As for lifting weights, I think that's very important. We try to keep our arms and our legs. You know, we're not pumping iron. You know, but we're lifting weights that are like 10, 20 pounds with our arms and some with our legs, so we can kind of keep our joints good. And the other thing we do is we always include in our diet a joint care supplement, so we can keep our joints fluid.
Calcium and omega-3 oil tabs.
Yeah.
Calcium is vitamin D and omega-3.
So you're taking supplements too.
Oil. Yeah, supplements, but not like trying to be, huge. We're just taking enough, even if you're not even exercising, if you're aging, period, you need certain things so that your bones won't get brittle, so that your joints won't easily get displaced, so that if you're like me and you have an injury, you'll heal quickly.
That is great. This has been such an informative program, and one that I'm going to tell you, Al, you've inspired me because I'm a cancer survivor. The doctor told me that I was supposed to walk, and I start for about 3 weeks, and then I stop. Technically, I'm pretty, I'm thin, but I'm getting a little rotund in places that I shouldn't be. So you've inspired me. I'm going to say that I'm going to get out there and I'm going to walk. I usually do my walking on the golf course looking for a ball, but I'm going to have to do better than that. But again, if you're just tuning in, this is Hope TV. I'm David Linton. We've had the pleasure of speaking with the Davises, Alphonse and Bernice Davis. They believe in keeping it moving. They walk in marathons. Not marathons. It's a marathon to me because I don't even walk around the block. So again, but they've shared so much information about the importance of keeping it moving. And that's what it's all about, because you want to keep moving. Activity is the key for anybody who, as they grow old and go older, because again, even the children, youth today don't play like we played when we grew up. They do video games. And so you're seeing such obesity among children. You're seeing so many health problems with our youth. So you've been an inspiration not only to your peers, but maybe to some peers who are some parents who may be watching our shows, that they may take this and give them the motivation to either do something with their children or do something themselves. So we just want to thank you for being a part of Hope TV's broadcast today. It's always a pleasure. Before we wrap, I'm going to go to my co-host, Jean. Any parting thoughts or words? And Dr. Mitchell, the same for you, and then we'll call it a wrap.
Well, I just want to say I have enjoyed listening to them, and I have picked up some ideas in order to improve my health. I'm a walker, but I don't walk as much as they do. But thank you so much. I've enjoyed it. I'm going to add your vitamins that you just spoken to my plan also. Again, thank you so much for being with us.
And I like to
Sharon?
echo the Yes, I like to echo the same thing about moving. We've been laughing about not getting the quarantine 15, which is typically the 15 pounds people are gaining through the quarantine, and just your recommendations about just moving and having some type of activity has really encouraged me. My daughter and I just had this conversation last week about walking around the neighborhood. So I think you not only have encouraged me and our co-host, but you certainly are encouraging other people. So thank you all for what you do. And you all keep being a model of what we can do even in our latter years, because we're still forever young. Thank you for being our guest today.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So again, as we wrap, thank you again for joining us this week for Forever Young. This is the program that celebrates life. We like to always thank our producer, Cammie, who's back there making sure it all happens. Our executive producer, Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr. in the House of Hope Atlanta, for having the vision to bring these type of programs to you while you're captivated, but yet still learning and still growing. So again, once again, to our guests, the Davises, thank you for joining us. For Hope TV and Forever Young, I'm David Lynch. And remember, you are forever young because age ain't nothing but a number. Until next week, take care. Bye now.
"11 o'clock on Sunday morning, when thousands of Christians all over the United States stand to sing "In Christ There Is No East or West," we stand in the most segregated hour of America.
We're awakening to the fact that the accomplishments of the civil rights movement were a beginning, not an end.
We should be able to say, this is where I have sinned against my brother, or against my sister.
I think this whole element of racism is a reality of life. Being racist is something we need to change.
Even though the church in many times has been complicit in the racial divide, let's be honest about that. The church is the way back.